Hello, welcome to another video. I have my little influencer mic. I'm doing sort of like a try-on haul today, but before we get into that, I'll leave a timestamp below if you don't want the sort of like life update that goes along with it. But if this is the first video of mine you're watching, hi, I'm Cheyenne. I'm in my 30s and I have had a really interesting relationship with style, clothing, getting dressed, and finding my personal style again in my 30s is a journey that I'm still on. It's definitely something I don't feel like I have it perfect, but I finally feel, after a really long time of having felt like I've lost myself and lost my spark, which I'll get into, I feel like I'm finally on a path where I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about myself. I feel like how I am dressing and how I present myself to the world, I feel like reflects how I feel on the inside. And that's something that I haven't felt that in quite a while. So that's something I've really been actively working on and trying to achieve. And so I guess a couple points here. One, if you're in your 30s or even in your 20s and you feel like you aren't quite sure how you express yourself, or you feel like you've kind of lost your sparkle, or you don't know how you want to sort of present yourself to the world, or on an even deeper level, if you're kind of feeling lost and like you aren't sure who you are anymore. You're not alone, and none of those feelings are permanent. None of them are going to last forever. Even the worst feelings, even the best feelings, none of it lasts forever. So that is something that I find comfort in, where I can tell myself, is I have a lot of issues with sort of like object permanence and emotional object permanence, where it's very easy for me to feel like if I'm going through a hard time or I'm struggling with something, that's the only way I've ever felt, and that's the only way I'll ever feel. And that's just simply not true, but it can be really hard to remember that. And so I'm hoping that by me talking about it, maybe that will help someone else as well. But I think going back a little bit, the reason why I think I've had such a hard time is kind of a couple of different things. My late 20s, where I feel like a lot of people kind of like come into their own, was during the pandemic. And that's obviously the case for a lot of people, during the start of the pandemic, I should say. Let's see, in 2019, how old was I in 2020? How old am I now? Oh God, I have dyscalculia, so I have to figure this out. I think I was 27 in 2020, so right at my Saturn return. So lockdown happened. I got on TikTok for 2 months and I learned everything I never wanted to know about myself. So I found out I was neurodivergent. I found out I was more disabled than I realized. I found out I was queer. I found out I was way more leftist than I realized. It's just I found out all of these things about myself in isolation, which is fine, and it's not a unique experience. I know that's something that a lot of people experienced, obviously, but I do think that it's something that maybe not a lot of, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, and I think it's really challenging because humans aren't meant to exist in isolation. And so when you have all of those formative things happen, I never really when I came out during lockdown. And when I started working on deconstruction, that was also during lockdown. When I started working on unmasking and being more of my authentic neurodivergent self after a lifetime of masking, a lifetime of comp het, a lifetime of heteronormativity and everything that comes along with that, all happened in isolation in my bedroom. I was really diligent about lockdown. I really didn't leave my house much at all, if I could avoid it, for 2 years. And then after that, we moved to Chicago. To back up. So a lot of times when you come out and things like that, you're doing that with friends, and you're going out and you're dating, and you're learning things about yourself and how you want to present in your sexuality and your all of these different things. But I just never really had the opportunity to do any of that. And then I moved to Chicago, and that was 2020, the very end of 2022, so December. And then 2023 and 2024, I lived in Chicago with my spouse. And, well, we weren't married at the time, but I developed a chronic illness, and there were many days where I was not even able to leave the bed, and I couldn't walk. I was very, very sick. I had actually accepted that I was dying. I had no idea what was wrong with me at the time. No diagnosis, and it was just so scary. It felt like my life was ending before it had really even started, and I really didn't think I was going to make it to 30. And so when those sort of like formative events happen, before you're 30 and like really in isolation, I think that just caused me to shut down in ways that like I can't fully express in a YouTube video. I could, but it's like a try-on haul. It's not the time, I guess, but I really lost myself. I mean, when you are that sick and you're in that much chronic pain, you don't have a personality. I mean, maybe some people do, but I certainly did not, because all I could do was survive. That is the only thing that I could do, and I was barely doing that. So to have like a sense of personal style was so outside the realm of what I was focused on. I was like trying to keep a meal down. So I really lost myself in that. I lost all sense of like sparkle. I lost my sense of like passions and interests and creative thought and things that like brought me joy and sparked joy. Those are all privileges that you can only really achieve if you have all of your basic survival needs met, and I just didn't. So now I'm very grateful to report that I am feeling much healthier. I'm just in such a different place in my life, and I'm finally feeling like I'm like unfurling and blossoming a little bit again. I'm coming back into my own. And part of that is realizing that like maybe for the first time in my life, definitely my adult life, that I can kind of like dress how I want. I work for myself. I have a pretty clear understanding of like who I am, what I'm interested in, what I actually like, and not just what I pretend to like that's like societally accepted, what I actually like. And a lot of that has been going back to my roots of like my preteen, middle school self. She is my guiding light. She is my patron saint, is middle school Cheyenne. She was a diva. You couldn't tell her anything. Literally, my AIM handle was CPDiva500. I did not have an ounce of insecurity in my body until I entered high school. And then I started getting really, really bullied, which I feel like is pretty typical for like neurodivergent folks. Like if you make it out of grade school without being bullied, what a miracle. But in middle school, like I was so confident. I was so outgoing. I really was like not self-conscious at all. I was not shy at all. I was thriving. I was living my best life truly. I mean, I was like deeply traumatized, but I didn't know. I was like 11 and barely knew that I existed. That consisted of like sparkly jeans, newsboy caps, foam flip-flop platform sandals, gauchos, ponchos, limited to, Pottery Barn teen. I was just like really... I think another thing is like with this, like with the pandemic and all of the sort of like aesthetics that arose on like TikTok and things like that, I feel like there's been a real decline in creativity and individuality. And also, of course, we're seeing a rise in like fascism and conservative thinking. And I think that really also gives way to like conformity and wanting to go for like the clean girl aesthetic and reject any sort of thing that's out of the norm or cringe or earnest or experimental or playful or whimsical. And it's very focused on like streamlining, stripping away, all of that. Whereas the thing, and I tried that and I fucking hated it. I don't really look good in a slick back. I look better when my hair is kind of like witchy and flyaways and a little frizzy, and it is what it is. So all of that was kind of a rambly way to say that I have sat with my inner child, patron saint Cheyenne, and discovered that what I love the most when I think of like my ideal higher self fashion icon, what would I actually be comfortable in? How would I actually like to present myself to the world? It's not that at all. It's very like whimsigoth, 90s witchy vibes. Like think Practical Magic, think Sabrina the Teenage Witch, think also like very Lorelai Gilmore Y2K inspired. Phoebe Buffay adjacent in terms of style. Those were sort of like what I was going for. Also maybe elements of like Wednesday Addams here and there. I like things that are witchy. I used to dress a little bit more like alternative when I was a teenager. But then I think that turned into kind of grunge, and then I was like straight into the corporate world. So I was trying to do just like corporate, and then I was trying to do like clean girl aesthetic, and I just lost the plot. So we're going back to our roots. I've thrifted a ton of whimsigoth clothes. I'm going to try them on for you. And yeah, you do not need to go out and buy all of these clothes. I got all of these clothes at like a charity thrift shop. The individual pieces were on average like $4 each. And I really needed a new wardrobe because of my chronic illness. I have had some weight changes, and also I moved across the country and I live in quite a different climate now than I used to. And so I needed a lot of clothes, but please don't be influenced to go out and buy a whole new wardrobe if you don't need one. But yeah, I think I will just kind of try on the individual pieces and show y'all. I'll start with this because I actually already have one on. Hopefully you can still see this okay. But I got this cute little dress, and I got this little sweater. This necklace is not thrifted. I already had this. It was actually on my altar. So one thing that you will find is like I'm really not great yet with accessorizing. I'm still very much trying to figure out how to do that again, because I have had really just like crippling social anxiety, and I got to a point where I thought that everything was cringe, and even to the point where I thought it was cringy to like put on a dress or accessorize or put effort into my outfit at all. I'm medicated, we're working on it, it's a process, but I really like this dress. It's kind of like a jersey fabric. It's super comfortable. I'll take this off and show you. These boots are not thrifted. I've had them for a long time, but it's very flouncy and I love it so much. It's very, very soft. That's also very important to me as a neurodivergent person, to find clothes that are comfortable. And I realize that I really hate buying clothes online because I need to be able to feel the fabric and make sure that the texture is like comfortable enough for me. And then this sweater is like an olive green like cardigan, and it has kind of like crochet vibes, I guess. And then you can tie it. It like ties right here. And then you can button it here, but it's actually a bit too big on me, so I think it looks better open, but you can wear it like this also. So that's one of the outfits. I will change and show you the next one. Okay, this is the next one. I just thrifted this shirt. I already had these shorts. These are previously thrifted. They're Carhartt, but this is not something I got recently. I've already had these. But I feel like this shirt is so cute. It gives me Lorelai Gilmore. I just feel like this was giving First Day of Chilton. I know that shirt's slightly different, but it does have little like, I don't know if you can tell, but it has little rhinestones right here. It's like slightly too big for me here, but like it just doesn't really matter to me. I think it's very, very cute. Just a little t-shirt, but we love it. And it really was important to me, like I said, to get not only clothes that I like the textures of, but also clothes that were practical and going to be like feasible for my lifestyle. And I just don't dress up very often. A lot of times I dress pretty casually, and so I wanted to find whimsigoth inspired clothes that were still casual and that would still like be things I would actually wear in my day-to-day life. So that's this one. Okay, here's this little skinny scarf moment. I'm not sure this is exactly how I would style this outfit, but these are individual pieces I thrifted. So this scarf I think is so cute. It just reminded me so much of like Y2K vibes. It was actually much thicker, like it was wider, so I just cut it so that it would be more of like the skinny Y2K style. I also thrifted this tank top that has like the lacy cami part up front. And it has like built-in padding, which is really nice because I just genuinely despise wearing a bra. So that's good. And then I thrifted these shorts, which are just like jean shorts. They're a little bit like stretchy in the back and a little bit frayed on the bottom. So like I said, I'm not sure that I would actually wear it like this, but this is how I'm showing it to you. So hopefully you can see a little bit of the like Y2K inspired vision. And if you have any tips for accessories or styling, any of these things, as long as they're constructive and kind, they are absolutely welcome. So that's this one. I tried to cut the excess fabric of this into a little headband. It was not working out for me. Probably if you know how to sew, that's something that you could do, but I do not know how to sew. I used to, but I forgot. The skill regression is real. But I think this is just like really pretty. Actually, let me try to tie it in a headband so y'all can see. I don't know if this is anything at all, but I feel like I had a vision, you know? Like, I don't know if we're achieving it, but potential for scarf headband. Let me know if you think that's cute. But I do think that I'll wear this quite a bit in the fall. Yeah, next one. Okay, this one with the flannel I think is so cute. Without the flannel, it's quite out of my comfort zone, but I'm going to show it to you. So I think this flannel is super cute. I just have the same shorts on, but it has these little like white stripes on the elbows that I think are just really cute. I do wish this was like a size larger just because I do tend to like flannels really oversized. But I'll show you the little tank top I have underneath.